Hello, welcome back to Rustic Live. Today I want to give you a quick lesson in terms of using instance collections and creating kind of like a scene like this, where you have like a kind of like a set of chair, tables, and also these weird creatures kind of floating. So this is like a maybe like a cafe in pandemic, where you have like a virtual character floating, and yeah, but this scene is still quite manageable. And in fact, if you want to add like a if you want to add a different character into the scene, like this bear, you can do that. So this bear is actually the original inspirations for this scene. So it was taken and scanned from Paris by Alban Denoyel. So you can see, you might have seen photograph like this, where in a cafe you have this huge teddy bear doll sitting next to the chair. This is to enforce the social distancing. This is actually since last year. I thought it's kind of cute, but also a little bit sad that we come to these situations. But anyway, some cafes in Sydney, Australia, also doing this kind of bear companion for cafe tenants. Anyway, I'm recreating this inside Blender, but I'm using the Waterbear, the Tardigrade, and by the way, all the assets you see here is simply something that I grabbed from Sketchfab. So I just search for the objects that I can download, search for downloadable. You can bring in newspaper, maybe like coffee cup. You should in general find the asset. Maybe some of the assets are not suitable for your scene, but you can try find the right one for you. And then if you really need it, you can make your own or ask another 3D artist to create it for you. But yeah, we can recreate it inside Blender. If you just want to have like a simple scene, you can just make a compositions. But in this case, we are using collection. So first of all, I put all the assets under a collection. So this is the original one before I use the scatter objects. So first of all, I have this setup, my cafe with a pink color wall and checker floor, and then I have this Waterbear, wine glass, table, and chair. This one was put under a collections. You might see a lot of these weird symbols. This is actually the empty, and with the empty you can you can basically transform and scale your objects that you bring from Sketchfab, and you scale it to your need. Okay, and you can reposition as you please. Like for example, this wine glass. Okay, I'm selecting the wine glass mesh, right? And then this mesh is placed under an empty, and with the empty you can place the wine glass. So you can, for example, if you want to have 2 wine glass, you can do that very quickly by selecting the wine glass, and then you duplicate the whole hierarchy. So select the whole hierarchy, and then you duplicate it, and now you have the second wine glass with a different transform. So you can reposition the wine glass. For example, maybe this one is, if I'm doing this properly, I select the right pivot for our wine glass and just drop it like that. So this is our setup. This is placed under one collections, and so all these assets under single collections, I simply scatter into the scene. So I have this is a plain object, I call it a scatter object, and I'm using geometry nodes to scatter our tardigrade. So I can easily randomize the seed. Here I have actually the original bear. If I hold Control, Options, and right mouse button slice like that, I can bring the bear also. So the bear scan is not 100% perfect, but I'm bringing the bear also into the scene, and you can see how everything comes together. So I want to show you the whole process maybe from scratch. Maybe that's a good idea. Let's actually do that. So before I do that, I want to show you actually with collections and instancing. You can, for example, if we have like a multiple set of table. For example, we have this type of table, the round table, and perhaps we have like a chair. This is like a dummy object. Just set up something real quick. Maybe you have this table and you have another table. So this is one set of for example, this is one set of table with a, let's put a like a dummy glass, for example. So this is one collection. you put it inside collection, for example, by hitting M, create a new collections and call it table 1. So this is a collection, and you can easily scatter this table. But what if you have like a multiple table? You can actually do that very quickly. So we can duplicate the collections. So we have the second table. We can name this table 2, and we can select the object. For example, if we make this chair to be rounded like that, and we want to have like 2 chairs, and we get rid of that. So we have 2 set of table. We can actually put this under a collection. So selecting the collections, we can create a table set, and we can actually scatter table 1 and table 2 very quickly. Like, so if we have like a plane, this is our scatter object. We can use geometry nodes. We can use distribute points, and we can use point instance collection, and we have this whole collection being ticked, and we select table set, and very quickly you can see this plane needs to be outside. So Control A, apply the transform. Let's reduce the density and also use Poisson disk. We can see now our cafe or restaurant have a table from table 1 and table 2 randomly scattered. Okay, in this case we don't use the whole collection. We turn it off, but it should be smart enough so it's selecting the table from table 1 or table 2. You can have table 3 as well, and then you can randomize the rotations if you want to. So point rotations and rotate our table randomly. So we have our cafe setup. You can randomize the seed, we can randomize the rotations, and also randomize the instance itself. So this is a quick example. Scatter, we call it scatter cafe. So let's see, it's table 2. We should put it on the original positions. So this is one result example. So let's do that with our setup based on the Parisian bear. Okay, so file, new, general. First we want to have like a floor. Actually, maybe don't worry about the floor for now, just import our bear. So from downloads, we have newspaper, we have wine glass, rustic chair, bar table, Waterbear. Okay, start with the Waterbear. So this is from Sketchfab, and it's looking like this. And we have like I said, we have this empty root for transformations, and we have bunch of mesh. This is I think this is like from 3D scanning. So we have multiple objects, but we can join them together using Command J, and then hit tab, go to edit mode, and simply merge vertices by distance. So it's becoming single objects, and we merge point that's close together, and this object is actually quite dense. We might want to reduce the resolution, decimate, and apply. Okay, so we have this empty, so we can scale our objects, and we can reposition our objects to our need. Okay, so let's do that. So we can scale. So that's the original scaling. This is the additional empty. Let's save this very quickly. Composition. So let's bring other objects. Oh, okay. Select this, actually, select hierarchy, and just put it inside a new collection first. Call this table set. So we have a single collections with our Waterbear assets. So let's import another objects. So currently in this example, I'm using the import GLTF. Maybe for in the future, if you use the asset browsers, you can use that feature as well. Just like library of your assets and just drag and drop it into collections. So let's import our bar table. Of course, it's too big, right? But we're gonna put it inside the collection anyway, and then we can scale it. So using the scaling there, scale, and then reposition. Our Waterbear is basically floating. Yeah, so this is your cafe companion. So let's import another object, a rustic chair. Again, M, and then move it into table set. And the chair, of course, not in the right position, but you are doing the set dressing, so you want to reposition it. Scale until it looks correct. Ideally, you want to have the orientations and position of the chair, so you can kind of tilt it if you want to. Anyway, continue. Folded newspaper. Let's bring in the wine glass. select hierarchy, move it into table set. Wine glass is of course too big, so scale it, and then position the wine glass. So it's all about like making sure the scale is correct, and also the positions. And of course all of this should come with the material. Sometimes the material from Sketchfab needs to be adjusted. Like in this case, this wine glass is using the old school materials, where it should actually be better if you use the new principal VSDF. And in this case, this wine glass needs to be transparent. So I want to turn on alpha and blend modes to alpha blend. Okay, so we have wine glass with reflections. Yeah, I think that's pretty okay. It's a bit boring because everything is centered. Just put it there. So we have two characters. Maybe we need two wine glass. Like that. Okay, so we have like a set. We can put the newspaper also, import GLTF. It's the Sun newspaper. Put it into table set. Again, scale it. And put it into position. Okay. Now we have this set that we can duplicate, and we can correct everything. We can make this tardigrade a little bit more metallic. Maybe a little bit of subsurface scattering. Okay, nice. Now we want to use the instance of this table set. Okay, so using a plane, maybe this plane is for scattering. So we can do the same. Create geometry nodes, and we want to distribute some points. First of all, with our plane, make sure this is outside of the collections. So this is for scatter, for scattering our objects. Control A, apply all transforms. So we don't want to have too many points. Be careful. This is like a preview for your collections instancing. Okay, let's try anyway. Collection, whole collections, table sets. Okay, so now we can start to see the result. So this cafe is probably too packed, so we can adjust the distance. And now we can start rotating this randomly. Attribute randomize, vector rotation. And we don't want this kind of random rotations. We just want the rotations in the z-axis. Okay. Just something like that. So we have our kind of like a pandemic style cafe with less customer. Kind of sad actually. But anyway, each table have this virtual companion, Waterbear. It's pretty weird, but it's how it is. So I created a floor very quickly. In this floor, I want to have like a checker pattern. Checker, we have procedural checker texture. So currently our scene is actually kind of square. If you scale this like that, you know, the texture won't be correct unless you use the texture mapping or texture coordinates. Assign, use object and Control A, apply transform. Now you will always have like a square. I wonder what's wrong. Maybe I have some kind of thickness. Oh, okay, that's weird. Anyway, what I mean is that you can have a floor that's not square. Same thing with your scatter object. It doesn't need to be square. Let's turn off the geometry node. So this is the scatter object. You can scale it to your need. Control A, apply, enable geometry nodes. Back to geometry nodes, we can have more density. Okay, something like that. So visualizing our cafe or restaurant. And our floor is still square, check-in pattern. Okay, so we also now maybe can create like a wall. Let's quickly create a cube. Create the wall. Be careful when using this because now I can delete this face, right? You can have rooftop. Get rid of it for now. Be careful with this because your wall might be kind of flipped. Face orientations. You see, this is the blue the blue color is the one that's going to be rendered. So you want to maybe flip this. Flip the normals. So now it's going to be rendered properly. And you can actually export this out. So the newspaper, okay, everything is correct. Looks like a red color. This is something that you can export with the instance. So if you export it maybe as GLTF, you can use instancing. If I'm not wrong, you can actually do that. Or if you use like USD, you can enable instancing and it's gonna translate into AR. But basically this is the whole setup. And you can start to lit the room. So I'm using Eevee render engine, but you can also switch to cycles, a little bit more realistic. But Eevee is faster for quick preview. And you can set up the environment light if you like, if you want to. Just set up the ambience, kind of gloomy blue, and set up the sun. And if you want to, you can set up the camera and also kind of set up the depth of field. So Shift A, create a camera, view, align active camera to view. So you are now inside the camera. Turn on camera to view. Now we are inside the camera. and we can have something on focus. So let me show you how I arrange this. I Shift A, create a new empty, and here we have this new empty. This is going to be the focus for our camera. Focus. Now select the camera, turn on depth of field, focus object, and set the aperture. Now this focus object, something that can be animated. This is going to be where the camera is focusing. Okay, so maybe, yeah, something like that. So turn off all of this, and then you can animate the camera while the focus is always, for example, which table? Yeah, for example, around that area. So yeah, that's the whole setup, the 3D composition of the scenes, and we set up our collections, table sets, and then we scatter it inside into the room, into the floor. And so you have these scenes, kind of like a panoramic style cafe or restaurant, the Parisian style. So thanks again for Alban to share the 3D scanning and also to share the scenes. So we can recreate the scenes in Blender. Oh, by the way, this is the floor. Anyway, I think it's kind of nice. It's interesting scenes that you can create very easily, and you can still manage the setup. If you want to, you can randomize the seed, recompose the seed, like maybe play around with rotations until you are happy, simply by using geometry nodes and instancing of the collections. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.